Yo. Do I have a what? No, I have a roll of paper towel. So if your nose is in pain, it will not help. Well, it will help. It will soak up snot, but it will hurt your nose. All right. So we are going to convert from general form, which you do not know what that is, to slope-intercept, which you do know what that is. What is slope-intercept form? We have done it to death. You should know this automatically. Y equals mx plus b. What is m? Slope. How do we find slope? You can either do rise over run or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And what is b? The y-intercept. What do we know about the y-intercept? It's a point on the graph that has what coordinates? 0, y, which we remember is an x and a y value. Everybody should be very comfortable with everything I've written on the screen right now. Yes? Excellent. General form, which is superior to major form. Thank you, William. That was a good one. Thank you. You might need to explain it to some people because not everyone's laughing, and that was funny. General form, which is superior to major form. General form. Every time I say general form, I expect you all to salute general form. I'm just kidding. You don't have to. It was just trying to make a funnier joke. If you watch the show How I Met Your Mother, they do that joke on that every time they have to say something is major. Huh? Yeah. It's a great show. It's on Netflix now. I highly recommend it. Yeah. Anyway, general form looks like this. What, as always, I ask this question, what is similar between general form and slope-intercept form? There are 3 terms in each. Well done, good man. Give me another similarity. They both have x's and y's. Excellently done. Another similarity. Well, let's think about this for a second. Jazz has said they have 3 terms. Avery has said they have x's and y's. That covers 2 of the terms. What's the third similarity? They both have... That's not going to be a variable. That's going to be a constant, right? Because it's just C, right? And over here it's just B. Now that's where the similarities end. Because you will notice this guy has a capital B and this guy has a small b. They are different things, okay? Do not make the mistake of saying that letter C, since it's by itself and is a constant, is the same as the y-intercept, okay? It is not. That's the first mistake students make. C isn't the y-intercept, okay? That's the first mistake, so I'm going to put a little star there. Now, let's talk about some more differences. What is another difference between what's highlighted in blue and what's highlighted in yellow? Pardon me? They both equal something, except the blue one equals 0. Everything's on one side, right? And the yellow one, it all equals y. Good job. Is there another difference? Aiden. Yes, x has a different coefficient. Over here, x has m, which is the slope. But over here, this does not have m. That's the next big mistake kids make. A is a coefficient of x, but not the slope when you're in general form. Okay? Excellent. What is the other difference? There's one other thing we haven't talked about. The y has no coefficient, but here the y does have a coefficient. Right? There's not really much mistakes to make over that, right? But I am going to put a little star there. In the blue one, y is not isolated. Okay? Now, because they all have an x, a y, and a constant, they have the same terms, and we can use algebra to move them around. Okay? Now, in the 9th grade, if I gave you this, and I said graph it, really your only option in the 9th grade was a table of values, wasn't it? Right? You would have done this. You would have You would have made table of values, x, y. You would have put in some x's, 1, 2, 3, and then you would have had to sub them in here and find the answers. Right? And that would have taken forever, yeah? But now, because we're in the 10th grade, we know that if we can make it look like that, we can put it on the graph in about 2 seconds, can't we? Because once we get it to yellow, we go to that spot, and then we just count our rises and runs, right? So, how am I going to get that blue to look like that yellow? What has to happen? So we're going to write it out, because we always write it out. Now, to make it look like the yellow, what's the one thing there that needs to change right away? You got to get y by itself, right? And y should be positive, shouldn't it? Is y either of those things, too many THs in there, either of those things right now? No, it is not positive, and it's not by itself. So I better make it so. Now, I gave you a shortcut for doing that yesterday. If I take this negative 2y and I move it over here, what becomes of it? It becomes positive. So I will get 3x plus 8 equals positive 2y. Is y now positive? Is y very close to being alone? Yes. We don't want to move the y now. We like the y where it is. But we don't like what? We don't like that 2. So how do I get rid of it? I divide by 2. If I divide the right side of an equation by 2, what must I do to everything on the left? Same thing. And then I have my new equation. 3 over 2x plus, what's 8 divided by 2? 4 equals y. Does that look like that? Can we graph it now? Now, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, and this will not happen to any of you because you will not fall into this trap because you are an intelligent young group of people. Intelligent group of young people. The y is on the right, but up here the y is on the left. Are they still the same thing? Yes. I have had many students tell me that that is not slope-intercept form, and they can't graph it because it does not have the y on the left. I don't know what to say to that. I try to be supportive, and I say, no, it's cool. It still equals y, right? And they're like, no! And then I still stay cool. No, it's really okay, look. And I do some examples like, okay, maybe. You guys are well past the maybe, right? You're all okay with that, yes? All right, now graph it. Where do I start? What are you talking about?
Confusing
I just did a whole big thing about that. Where do I go? No, I wish I could go home. I wish I could. Honestly. I would way rather you guys went to school till 4 o'clock and we took 3 months off every year. Then you could just go home after Victoria Day. Like, way rather. Actually, that's not even what I want. What I really want is 6 weeks of school and then 2 weeks off all year round. That would be the best thing for everybody. Best thing for teachers, best thing for students, best thing for parents. No. 2 weeks off every 6 weeks all year round. It would be perfect. But nobody listens to me. I'm not in charge. We have to make sure you guys are able to go home and work for the harvest. That's what summer break is for. It's so you can harvest. Because we're all farmers in the 21st century, right? There's no other system in the world that is doing things the exact same way they did it 100 years ago, except school. Right? Like, I know. How will we get all the hay in if we don't have our kids? Anyways, that's another story for another day. Aiden, where do we go? 0, 4. Why? Because the y-intercept is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then where do I go? Up 3, 1, 2, 3, and 2 to the right. And where's the other point I make to make sure I have a straight line? Down 3 and left 2. And I make my line. And look at how quick it was to graph, right? If I wasn't teaching, most of you probably could have figured that out in less time than it took me to teach it, right? Evan, you gave me every single answer to that question. Every single thing we did there, you were the one that said it. Now, what will make Miss Lloyd and myself pull our hair out is if we asked you to write that down instead of saying it out loud, you would say, "What? Are you crazy? I'll never be able to do that." But then 2 seconds ago, hey, what do I do now? You move the 2. Then what do? You divide by 2, you idiot. You even have that little tone in your voice. Yes, you do, Evan. You're talking to me like I'm a doofus. All right. Uh-oh. Don't be those kids. Is number 2 the exact same thing, even though it looks a little different? We won't ask Evan. We don't want to put him on the spot. What is wrong with this? Because that's almost general form, isn't it? General form. I'm going to move the 3x, so the y is by itself. Nice job. So I'm going to have negative 4y, but remember, Evan can't do this. What happens to that 3 when it goes over there? Yeah. Negative 3x plus 8. Now what's ugly? I don't like that negative 4. I don't want to move the y because the y is where I want it. So how do I get rid of the negative 4? Divide by negative 4. Where else? Everything else. Y equals what? 2 negatives. What does that give me? Positive 3/4 x. 8 divided by negative 4? Negative 2. Graph it. Going to get the exact same answer, brother. That's exactly what I was going to do next. I'm tired of telling you to get out of my brain. It's crowded enough in there already. All right, so graph it. Where do we go? Where do we go? Negative 2. Then where? Don't say over. To the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then where? Down 3 and left. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's my line. Ya, ya. Ya, ya, ya. All right? Volkswagen knows what they're doing. Kevin, you did not come to me to write your test. Are you waiting for the cumulative? Okay, then. I know I did, but he sat down and did not say, hey, Myers, I need to write my test. He was hoping I would forget. I don't need to write the test, and the rest of you have written the test. He needs the test. You don't walk into McDonald's when you're hungry and just sit down and hope somebody brings you exactly what you want. You go and you order it, yes? Oh, you didn't want to interrupt me. Yeah, you never want to interrupt me. You do nothing but pay attention to everything I say, right? Yeah. All right, here we go. Now, just to remind you, I have gone back to the very first lesson. I'm not using the slope-intercept form. I'm using x and y intercepts, which are what? What is every x-intercept?
y2 minus y. Oh, not that. And 0.
Right? Where does that go over here? 5x. What happens to the y when I put a 0 in? It does what? It disappears, right? It's 5x plus 0. Do I need to write plus 0? No, so it's 5x equals 10. What does x equal? 2. Now, what happens when I put the 0 in for x? What happens to the x term? It disappears, because what's 5 times 0? 0. So I got 2y equals 10. What's the y-intercept? 5. So I got a point at 2, 0, and a point at 0, 5. And then I just put them on the graph. 2, 0, 0, 5. There's my line. Can everybody do it? It's pretty easy, right? All right, turn the page over to 205. Write down an example of the equation of a line in each form. What are our forms that we know right now?
y equals mx plus b.
We know y equals mx plus b. What else do we know?
y minus y1
Equals mx minus x1, right?
Yeah.
And the last form, ax plus by plus c equals 0, correct?
Yes.
I want an example of a line in each form. Okay? No. I'm going to give you some more information, and you're going to write these out. Is everybody cool? Okay? The line passes through. Two, 8, and 4, 6. You know that about the line. I want 3 different forms. Is there a right way to start? Well, there is something that you should do. Mostly because of the thing I'm about to highlight. What is M? Slope. I'm going to give you a very good piece of advice here. When in doubt, in the next 3 units, find slope. If you're unsure of how to start, find the slope. I know you do. I signed the form. Of course. Who has a slope for me? M equals -1. Can everybody see where Ayaka and Aiden got that from? Slope is what? It's two things. It's rise over run, and it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Which one could Ayaka and Aiden do right now? y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Why were they able to do that one? Because that's what they have. They have x and y and x and y. They've got that, so they found the slope. Once they know the slope, what can they do with two of these? They could put the slope in, couldn't they? Which one do you want to work with first? Which one? Number 1. Okay, so I'm going to work in red. So in red we have y equals mx plus b. What can I write in there right now? Do I know a y? Where? I know two different y's, don't I? Do I know an x? Do I know two different x's? Do I know m? So can I fill in almost all of this equation? Fill it in. What am I putting for y? 6 equals. What am I putting for m? -1. What am I putting for x? 4 plus b. I need to find b, don't I? Find it. What's 4 times -1? 6 equals -4 plus b. How do I get b by itself? Divide. Add 4. 10 equals b. So now, do I know the first form? What is it? Y equals -1x plus 10. Would I write -1x, or would I just write -x? I'd just write -x. Does everybody understand? That is 1. How easy is it to work out 2? Do I already know the slope? Do I already have x's and y's? So I can fill it in, can't I? Y. Now, if it's 8, what do I write here? Plus or minus 8? Minus, because you do opposite. Equals -1. -1x, then what? -2, because I'm using 8 and 2. What else could I write there? Could I use these x's and y's? Yep. Y minus 6 would equal -1x minus 4. Both of them would be okay. Right? And finally, the third version, which I'll do in blue, general form. ax by plus c. So, notice this rule. Please notice a, b, c, all on the same side of the equation, yes? Okay, so this is pretty close, isn't it? Now, I need you to notice some stuff about this. What do you notice about a? What's out in front of it? Is there anything in front of a? Which means a is what? No. No, it's not a constant, it's a coefficient. It's a coefficient of x. Is there any sign in front of a? So what is the sign of a? When I write 7, what's its sign? Positive. So what does a have to be? A must be positive. What else do you not see there? Is A a fraction? Is B a fraction? Is C a fraction? So no fractions. So let's look at our slope-intercept form. The number that's with x, is it positive right now? So it has to be positive, doesn't it? So where should that x go? This is what I'm starting with. Negative x plus 10. Where should that x go? It needs to go left. That'll give me x. What's already there? Positive y equals 10. Am I at this yet? What else has to move?
10.
The 10. What's going to happen to it when it comes across the line? Negative 10. And now what does all that equal? 0. Does that now look like general form?
Yes.
Easy peasy. Now we can move between all three of them. And how do we move between all three of them? The same algebra you learned in grade 6 is now being used in grade 10 to draw lines on graphs and can be used to make reasonably accurate predictions of the future. Oh, Mr. Myers, you're so mean to us. What form is that? Point slope, slope intercept, or general?
General.
Point slope form. Y minus 4 equals 2/3 x plus 2. But I want general form. Ax plus by plus c equals 0. What does this guy have that isn't allowed here? What do I have to get rid of? I need to get rid of the fraction. What else? What else is in here that's not in here? You're just using your eyes. It's just a question. Don't do it. Just tell me what is in the yellow that isn't over here. Right. I need to get rid of fraction. I need to get rid of brackets. What else do I need to do? I need to have it look like this. Is there a right or a wrong way to solve this? Or do we just go ahead and start doing algebra? What would you guys think?
0 and 1. 0 y.
What do I always tell you guys to do? Do something, right? Don't sit there and look at a problem. So look at this and tell me how you could get rid of some of these things. What is the easiest thing to get rid of right now? Pardon me? You could multiply everything by 3 and get rid of that 3, wouldn't you? That would take care of the fraction, right? So if I multiply this side by 3, what happens to the 2 3's? What happens here? They cancel. And what is left?
2.
No.
3.
2x plus 2. That's still there, right? If I do something to the right side, what do I got to do to the left side? Same thing. What's 3 times y? 3y minus what's 3 times 4? 12. Am I getting close? Why would I? Okay. Okay. Now what do I need to get rid of?
The bracket.
How do I get rid of those brackets?
Multiply.
Distribute. What?
2x plus 6.
Plus 4. Now what? Everything on the same side, and what has to be positive? The x. Is x positive? So should we move them? No. Everything else needs to move. What happens to that y when it comes over? Negative 3y. What happens to that 12 when it comes over? Positive 12. What is 4 plus 12? 16 equals 0. And you're done. What is challenging here? We know how to get rid of fractions. We multiply by the denominator. So what is challenging here? Remembering all of what? Remembering all the forms? Okay. So let's talk about that. Do you need to know the forms? Really? Do you need to know the forms? Or are they in your data booklet? They're in your data booklet. So remembering the forms isn't a problem. Okay? But that's algebra. Right? Do we know how to distribute? Have we done distribution this year? Yeah. Do we know how to move stuff around? You're really saying you don't know how to move stuff around? If you have to move it, it changes sign. Okay. Here, your job is to get this into all three other forms. Oh, forget about, stupid standard form. I always forget standard form. I'm going to write all three just to remind you. General. AX plus BY plus C equals 0. Standard, which is stupid. I don't like it. AX plus BY equals C. It's the exact same thing, but you don't put the C over there. I always forget to teach it until I get to this question. It's the exact same thing. And slope-intercept, y equals mx plus b. You are to take that and make it look like all of them. What changes the way it looks? Algebra. All you got to do is move it around. Go. I trust a great many of you are scared by the fraction, as usual. Of the people that are actually attempting what I asked them to do, how many of you actually started with this one that I started with? Okay. How many of you are trepidatious, which is a $5 word for nervous, about how to start? Okay. Again, ask yourself, what do I need to get rid of here to make it look like this? You don't like that 3, correct? So let's get rid of it. How would I get rid of it, Evan? Move it over. So y equals negative 1/2 x minus 1 minus 3, correct? Excellent. Now, what here is bothering you? Okay. What here is bugging you now, though? Now that you know that you just moved the 3, now what's bugging you? The fraction's bugging you, but we're allowed a fraction here, aren't we? Because it's slope. So the brackets are what's bothering you, right? Well, if I gave you this, Evan, 3 bracket x plus 1, what would you do? You'd distribute, and you get 3x plus 3, wouldn't you? Let's try that. What's negative 1/2 times x? Negative 1/2 x, isn't it? It's half of x. What is negative 1/2 times negative 1? Positive 1/2, correct? Minus 3. Well, if I had 50 cents and I told you, or if you had 50 cents and I said you owe me $3, you have 50 cents, half a dollar, you got to pay out 3. How short are you? $2.50, 2.5, right? So 1/2 minus 3 is negative 2.5. And now does this look like this? Does it? Is y by itself? Yup. Does x have a slope in front of it? Yup. Is that a constant that we could find on a graph? Yup. So we're done. Now, which one do you want to do next? I'll leave it up to you to decide. Or are they both really the same thing? They're really the same thing, aren't they? If I put everything on one side and then move the 2 at the or the c at the last minute, I'm set, right? So now we've got y equals negative 1/2 x minus, I'm going to change this to 5/2 because they're the same things, right? 5 divided by 2 is the same as 2.5, yeah? Okay, now I need this to look like this. What changes must I make? What in this guy bothers us now? I hate fractions. How do I get rid of divided by 2 and divided by 2? I cancel them by multiplying, right? So if I multiply this side by 2, what's going to happen to all these 2's? They're gone, right? Gone, gone, gone. If I multiply the right side by 2, what do I got to do to the left side? Same. 2y equals negative 1x minus 5. Now, I need this to look like this. What do I have to do? Move everything to one side. Except x has to be positive. So x needs to move, right? What happens to that negative 1 when I move it? Becomes positive. Would I write positive 1? X. This guy's already positive, so I leave him. And when I move that 5, what happens to him? Equals 0. Does that look like that? Are we happy? Then, one last step, make that look like that. What's the only thing that has to move? The 5. So that is x plus 2y equals what? Negative 5, so I'm moving them back over. So that is standard. That is general. And that is slope-intercept. And you're done. Pardon me? Now it's your turn to get out of my brain. Because the next thing I was about to say is, do you have to do this way? Of course not. Because what if you chose to go to a different form first? Right? Or what if you chose to do standard first and then move the C? Or. Right? Have I ever cared about how you get to where you're supposed to go? The only reason I show you guys this stuff so you have at least one guaranteed way to get there. The more you play around with this, if you actually do your practice, the more you are able to make your own decisions and decide which way you need to go. Right? When I look at this very first thing, I can see this right away. I don't need to do any of this algebra in my head. I can see this immediately. And that's not because I'm smarter than you. That's because I've done this conversion so many times. I know what's going to happen. And the only difference is you've done this twice, I've done it 200,000 times. Right? Which was a bit of hyperbole, to borrow Miss Craig's question yesterday. By the way, I'm interested to know if anybody knows the first person Macbeth killed. Thank you. Because everybody thinks the first person Macbeth killed is King Duncan. But it's not. Dum, dum, dum. Bit of a spoiler alert for when you do Macbeth next year. All right. Page 206 is your homework, but we have 15. I lie. We have 25 minutes to go over the test, which I'm going to do right now. So, I'm going to hand that back to you. That is not your block. That is your block. I'm going to hand this back. You all have seen it. You know what you got, but we need to go over it.